Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and I am here with NICKtendo.
Hello everyone, NICKtendo here, and I'm emotionally distraught.
Yeah, yeah. So we watched the Steven Universe hour-long special, Change Your Mind, also known as Battle of Heart and Mind. Honestly, I like that title better, which is weird because like when networks rename specials, I tend to not like that.
Yeah, SpongeBob specials, keeping that in mind.
But yeah, this is major spoilers for all of that. So just fair warning, I guess. I don't know why you would click on this, but sometimes people are people. So what was that?
That was the Steven Universe series finale before they found out, oh no, we have to do a movie and another season because the show is popular.
Yeah, before this, like, I don't know. I think it was like Leia and other people were telling me like, oh no, the show's got like an 8 season plan and like it's gonna go on and on. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So I guess it's gonna kind of be like I don't know, like Day of Black Sun, where the team kind of fails on Homeworld, they go back home, they regroup, they do a bunch of other shenanigans, and then they go back to Homeworld and actually solve the problem. Not let's end the series here, except not really, because there is more. Well, we know there's at least the movie.
This is like reverse Adventure Time series finale, which was the last thing we talked about in this discussion format, where it's like it wraps everything up, but it's more cohesive, yet it's not the end.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we can't have the best of both worlds, but
Right. Well, but
you
what
know,
was what was weird about this? I mean, we'll go back and talk about it chronologically, but we're recording this right after it happens, so
oh
of
yeah,
course.
this is total first impressions right off the cuff, so it's gonna be a little messy.
Yeah, but we're just kind of starting with the biggest thing to me was just like was I watching GDQ? Like, did they speedrun that finale? Like, like was someone like bet I can't close all the hanging plot threads in 3 minutes?
How many characters? How many new characters can we design within this 4-part special? I'm pretty sure we're in the double digits, like far into the double digits
Yeah.
of stuff they had to design.
How many like long-standing things that we needed to see happened here from Steven fusing with each of the other gems individually?
Each of the other gems. There's like 3 other gems. It made me think, like, you know what? Steven only fused with Amethyst. Like, I
Yep.
felt like they had covered that a lot better because I remember fusions were really big in seasons 1, 2, and 3, but after that it became all about Homeworld. And now it's like, oh yeah, they never resolved any of that. So there was
Nope.
a bit of that there.
There was
But
let's show Lapis and Peridot with their stars finally.
yeah, someone was really big into having some kind of wrestler motif with all the redesigns.
It was 80s all over.
Yeah, no,
Like,
totally 80s with Pearl's coat. My thought process through this is someone thought, oh, we're not gonna have to draw the characters again, so we can just give them these ridiculous designs.
Peridot was like a ninja turtle. Like,
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was cool. I love the
trash
anime
can?
sunglasses.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know exactly what that's referencing. Like, whatever.
specifically, I don't know. The sunglasses are like an old. Like, the only thing that it reminds me of specifically is Crocodile, the Pokemon. So someone's gonna draw that certainly. But other characters have had that sort of design too. Pearl gets like a what are those things called? Like not a sport coat, like a uh, I don't know those.
I don't know what you would call it.
It's like business professional women's wear, like a jacket. Yeah, I don't. I'm obviously not up on my women's like 70s and 80s fashion, but
No, that's cool.
and then Garnet, like, I mean, I don't. Her design in general is fine. The star sunglasses are cute for this episode, but oh man, I really hope that they don't go with that going forward. Like,
One thing I do like about that redesign is the use of on her torso. There's the bright blue and red to show that she isn't afraid of showing ruby and sapphire on the outside, which I think is a nice touch.
that is nice.
Yeah.
And I guess Pearls would show that she's now a strong, confident business professional
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
that
She-
don't need no courts.
Well, I think no. What that redesign reminded me the most of her outfit in Last One Out of Each City, which was
Yeah.
interesting. Which kind of feels random because we didn't see any resolution with the mystery girl. But I guess it was to symbolize her being more independent.
What
or
you want
what
to
have
throw
you.
Mystery Girl into this as well?
I mean,
Like-
sure, why not? I don't know.
I mean, she's a fan of concerts. They really could have shoved her in. Maybe they did.
Hey,
Dude,
hey,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, you can probably like freeze frame this.
Oh my goodness. Amethyst design was cool too. Just even more like punkier. Like, I was a fan of her kind of like ripped T-shirt design for like her arc with Steven, but then after that, I kind of felt like she really should have gotten another costume change. Uh, but like I like this one a lot better. And then yeah, Lapis is wearing like yoga pants. Like,
I thought they were like MC Hammer parachute pants.
I don't know. Yeah, and Bismuth is still there. She's wearing her armor, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think that ended up being a plot point because might have been how Peridot caught Bismuth.
Yes, yeah.
Right before she fell to the ground. Yeah. I thought that was like a good way to bring that back.
Yeah,
even though Bismuth is like kind of feels like a last minute addition. I know you've talked about that extensively on your own time.
Yeah, sure. There'll be time for us to go over Bismuth's arc more in the show, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was probably the first warning sign that we were getting into Endgame with this.
Yeah, like, because okay, like, look, here's the thing, and if the show has more seasons, which people seem to know things that I don't know, like, I guess because the crew didn't say anything, like the crew would probably.
All right, Pie Guy, you haven't been on the dark web, and by that I mean you haven't stalked most of the storyboard artists. I'm sorry, just followed them on Twitter.
No, I don't do that. Why? Do you know something?
Well, no. All I'm gonna say is that they had the show takes a very long time to produce. Hiatuses all aside, but they were bringing new people on like just about a year ago, and they stopped recording for like all of 2017 or 18 or sometime because this was planned to be the end, and pre-production takes a very long time, but people put two and two together that the show was still in progress, and now we have the movie, which is slated for fall.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, well, there was a promo that came on right after the episode, and it was just the teaser trailer from Comic-Con, but it said fall. So, 10-month hiatus, here we come, baby.
Oh boy. So it might as well be over. No.
Yeah, well, I mean,
anyway.
I don't have any convenient time to talk about the show anytime soon. That's all I'll say.
Okay, so I guess that makes sense. That's kind of what I assumed, that like it's not like Cartoon Network came out and announced like Steven Universe renewed for 5 more seasons or anything like that, but based upon context clues and things that we know, the show certainly isn't over. Now whether that means the like 8 seasons that people were saying, or whether that means the movie and then like one more season to really, really wrap things up, quote unquote.
Yeah, if I'm going to make... Well, okay, so people are saying that there might be a time jump, which seems plausible with how anime this show is.
Yeah, in this episode in particular.
This episode, yes. Oh man, the fourth segment.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about some other interesting connections I made with that, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But my thing is they'll do another 52-episode season, which in the way they air it is 2 more seasons. That's right. Just what I think. Because that's how they produce the show. They air it in some weird way where they split it up with weird things. But anywho.
Yeah, Cartoon Network likes to split the 52 seasons into 226 seasons, which is like, it doesn't even matter. Because the way they air it anyway, it's not like they air it season at a time. They just kind of start and stop how they feel like it. But I wouldn't be entirely surprised at that. I mean, there's definitely a paradigm shift. What I was originally getting at, I think, is that whether there is more or not, and we know there's at least the movie, like, this is the end of Era 2 of Steven Universe, or whatever you want to call it.
It's like the end of... Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you would call it. It's technically the end of production season 3?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's the end of everything that's been set up thus far, essentially. I mean, I'm sure you can go through and you can pick out things like Mystery Girl and, I don't know, like the fact that, not getting...
Onion. Onion was weird, and that was never explained. Or maybe Onion was just supposed to be a weird character.
Nick, he had a mental disability. Be more respectful, please.
I thought you were gonna go with the he was like a secret gem the whole time thing, but
No,
I don't
I
know.
don't believe in that. But but no, yeah. I mean, you could pick little things, but like the big things, the gems being
Oh,
corrupted, the Jasper, the Lars being out in space, all. I mean, the diamonds and like all the big things, like every big thing was wrapped up here in a really like with a bow. Like it had if they were to give next season and have White Diamond be like, "Lol, JK, I'm evil again," that would not play well.
well, there's one big thing that
Mm.
was recently alluded to they didn't resolve, which is the popular fan theory of Sans from Undertale and Steven Universe
Oh my
being one and the
god.
same, which Rebecca Sugar did recently mention in an official Q&A. So I'm not making this up. This was actually mentioned.
Okay, Nick.
I just wanted to throw that in there. I love that.
uh,
That was actually mentioned.
mm,
But
mm.
anywho, you want to like talk
Yeah.
about the episode?
Yeah, let's do that. So we're gonna break it down and kind of go through it chronologically in the 4 11-minute chunks that this was. So starting off, honestly, the first episode felt like the most kind of predictable or the most like what you'd expect the continuation, escapism aside, what you'd expect the continuation of it being like. They're still in the jail cell. Blue comes to get them. They convince Blue. Blue goes and fights with Yellow. They convince Yellow, and then they're about to escape, and they can't.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that what the episode had to accomplish in that first segment was very well done. I love the resolution between Blue and Yellow, where Yellow's like, "Blue, stop making me cry," and Blue's like, "I'm not making you cry," and they reconcile, and that was nice. And everything building up to that was good. The only thing I took issue with was that outside of the conversation and the conflict was interesting, but it was very light on action or like
Yeah,
this
well,
is this is something Steven Universe in its last season has a lot of problems with. Episodes consist heavily of two people talking to each other, and visually it's very boring.
yeah, not even like okay, there isn't fight scenes, which there like very rarely is, but
No,
it's like
no, it's like there are. It does make up for that later on, but in this first segment, it's just staged
well,
pretty boringly. I don't know. I don't want to blame like the storyboard artist or what have you, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you can have the criticism without blaming anyone in particular, but like the thing that got me was like, oh, cool, we're gonna get a fight between these two diamonds, but like honestly, it was kind of a slap fight, like they Yellow kind of like slaps Blue's wrist, and like they kind of push each other lightly. Like it was just kind of like,
Push
and
each other lightly. They broke down that whole building.
all right, that was towards the end, but generally speaking, for like the first bit of it, it was just kind of like, kind of grappling with each other. It wasn't like here's these superpowered beings fighting. It was like, I don't know, uh, two people
That
fight.
yeah, that actually reminds me of something else that I thought was a little weird. Was that Homeworld as a location is so abstract that when characters are knocked into something, it's just like, oh, I don't know where this person is. Like, there's this segment in like part 3, Peridot's knocked way over there, and I can't tell if she's in danger because this it's just not really a
Right.
defined location. Like, I don't know. There were
Yeah.
some interesting, like they were on this bridge, but I couldn't tell what was really around them, or any definitive landmarks besides the ships, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we don't we still don't really even know what the structure of any of these buildings are. Like what is this? Like we see like here's a tower and Steven's in like a one jail cell in the tower is as much as you'll see of that tower. It's a little weird.
That's the
Um,
timeout tower, which
one okay, so you liked the dialogue of like stop making me cry, Blue. I'm gonna be honest with you, Nick. I feel like and this might just be the pacing of it. Ooh, talking about pacing in Steven Universe.
oh
New ground
wow,
here.
that's never been done before. New criticism.
But no, but I feel like with how fast a lot of things have to happen in this and how it moves, it felt a little after school specially, like a little soap opera-y, a little like I don't know, like Steven Universe has done dialogue, and I mean later in this as well. They'd have dialogue where it's like really good and really like it feels really genuinely convincing, like a good speech is made or something. But in a lot of this, it kind of feels just like Hey, Yellow, you're sad and you feel bad too, don't you? Oh yeah, I do. Let me cry. Like I, I don't know. I don't hate it. I'm not saying I hate it, but I just kind of felt a little bit of the drama in these episodes felt a little like not fully developed, I guess is how I'd say it.
I thought it was good. I'm trying to articulate this in a way that combats how eloquently you put your own opinion, but I can't. Um, I don't know. This is right off the cuff. I thought the feelings that I was getting was like, yeah, this works. It was a solid back and forth. What the characters were saying made sense. It moved the story forward. It didn't
Yeah.
feel like too much of a lapse in logic
I,
of what the characters were. I don't know.
no, no, no. I mean, I get what you're saying, and like I'm not like blue and yellow. I've already kind of like half been convinced from a few episodes back, anyway. So I'm not saying it needed to be like this big, long, drawn out like conversation. Like I said, I didn't. I don't need more like talking in this episode, but I don't know. I just feel like maybe a few more lines could have gone to make it feel a little less flat. Um,
I mean, I think they were building up to it, and
yeah.
they resolved it, and it was good. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Well, another thing, like, okay, I usually love puns, but I will say this episode, the whole thing really loved puns. Like it loved everything of like, huh, will you let us into your mind? Or like, you got to come out of your head. Like, give me a hand. Like it's like I like that in small doses, but I felt like it was a little bit like it took me out of the experience sometimes because like when it's Steven making a little one-liner like every so often, like okay, that's cool, but when it's like the diamonds are making these puns intentionally or not intentionally, I'm not even sure. It just kind of feels like it a little too heavy on that specific form of humor, especially considering the gravity of parts of this special.
I didn't really think the body puns were too much of an issue, but when you realize that the turning point in the fourth segment is Steven making a snappy one-liner, then it's like, all right, maybe they were laying them on a little too heavy.
Yeah, I mean, Steven did say he's gonna win them with a joke or with a song. So
Yes, that I was thinking about that earlier today. His song, what was it? Oh, Familiar. Yeah,
familiar.
his song in Familiar was like, oh yeah, he is gonna. I thought he was the song. I knew that there were gonna be three songs because they teased five songs, and they're like, let's just squeeze them all into the last third, a la Adventure Time. Uh, but I thought, oh yeah, he's gonna sing, and I didn't really think about the joke, but that was foreshadowed. It worked. I mean, like, we'll talk about the resolution when we get to it, but
Mm.
yeah, I didn't really notice the puns during most of the action in the episode. I didn't
Yeah.
take issue with them too much. I don't know. Maybe I have a higher pun tolerance than you.
Dude, I mean, like, I love puns is the thing. It's just, I don't know. There's a way. I think honestly, a lot of it is just it's all like the same kind of puns about like they have hand ships and they have head ships and they have leg ships, and it's like they make those same puns. And like, it's not the first time they've made like these hand ship puns before too. So yeah, I don't know, a little distracting to me. Not a huge issue, but you ready to move on to the second part?
Yeah.
So at the end of part one is when blue and yellow are about to have kind of Steven escape, and then white sees them and pops down on the legs. And then at the start of part two is when we see these twinkles in the sky, and it's Lapis again, coming out of the sky at a random time. What?
How
Okay, like
convenient.
did
It's
it?
so great that she came at the exact right moment when Steven needed some help. For the first time in second time in like 5 episodes.
Yeah, and like, what's the time scale on this again? How did it take Lars like a season to get home, and yet, like, how long was Steven in that prison? It couldn't have
Yeah,
been
that
that
was
long, or
something I
they'd
was
starve.
thinking about. That's something I was thinking about the other day. Steven is like, you gotta let us out of our cell, we're gonna starve. But we don't even know how long it's taken Steven to get to Homeworld, how long he's been in Homeworld, how long he even was as a watermelon Steven.
Yeah, but it couldn't have been too long, or else they would have starved and dehydrated and died. So, I mean, I kind of think that's a cheat, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we have warp pads. I mean, there's ways
Yeah,
that they
that's
could
what I
have.
was thinking. But they did break the galaxy warp, even though
Right.
Bismuth could have repaired it, or Peridot
Well,
had weapons that repaired it when she first appeared. I
right.
don't know.
I'm
It
just
feels
saying.
like they could have written around that.
But the thing is, they needed the arms there.
It's more dramatic. Too.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's like you could always just say they had two other armed ships on Homeworld. What kind of leader of the fleet only has just like one ship that they use, and they don't? There's never a backup. They don't, but at any rate, they come down, and I kind of found their big reveals to be a little like not as dramatic as I expected. Like I kind of expected Lapis would get revealed, and then Peridot would get revealed. Like they each get their own moment of spotlights. Where instead it's like Bismuth's like, I'm not the only one. For some reason, we took two ships.
Yeah, I mean,
don't know
I guess
why.
she was just remotely piloting the other ship. I wouldn't have expected more characters to pop up.
Yeah, and then they pop out, and yeah. We've already talked about the designs at the start, so we don't have to do that. But then we get more we get more giant hand ship punching action, rock'em sock'em airships.
We gotta talk about what happens when White Diamond takes full control of the headship. We see these enormous, like, creepy eyes that just pop out
Yeah.
of the sockets, and it gave me big, like, Star Fox vibes, like Nintendo 64 SNES Star Fox,
Nice.
with the wireframe 3D models.
Oh, that's a good analogy there. That's a good comparison.
I mean, it might have been what they were going for, since everyone who works on this show is a nerd. But
Yeah.
you know, me included, I'm the target audience. I mean, actually, I'm not. I'm not age 6 to 11, so I don't know.
All right, NICKtendo. So yeah, in this part, there's a little bit of airship fighting, which is like it's so weird to see that. Like I think it's intentionally uncanny, like you're saying, like it's kind of like almost looking, it almost looked like the head is CG. Like I don't think it is, but there was just this kind of like uncanniness about like how it looks and how it kind of moved around, and when the eyes popped out, like looks freaky. Look, it really achieved, I think, what they were setting out to do with it.
Oh yeah, and especially I think that was parallel to when White Diamond takes control of all the other characters, all the other gems later on in
Right.
the episode. Definitely foreshadowing or what have you.
Well, yeah, she's puppeting around a ship in the same way that she puppets around everyone. So Steven convinces Yellow and Blue to try to just like talk to White Diamond, and then White Diamond turns them into T-posing servants or something.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much T-posing.
Yeah. Oh, not exactly.
They
but
got little bends on their arms, but you know, little Photoshop. You can easily get to T-posing.
But you know, this thing was like made before T-posing was a thing. Probably it was a meme, anyway. But everyone's probably gonna call it the T-poses.
Hey, that's what people were calling it back in July. So
That's true. That's true. So yeah, so that doesn't exactly go well, and then that's when Steven drops all the gems, and there's this big like action scene in the air.
I actually really enjoyed how that segment looked. That whole segment. I know it was a little odd because everything shifted to Steven, and it did feel a little isolated. Kind of
And
going back to
Steven
the
was-
location theme.
Yeah, and Steven was falling for like a good
Yeah.
like,
Oh, well, that
4
was
minutes.
that's just a cartoon thing.
Right.
where
No,
it's
I'm
like,
not complaining.
How
I'm
long
just-
is this cavern? Though I will say, I don't know. I was thinking about sizes a lot in this episode because of all these shots from the perspective of the giant mech where it's looking down on the characters, and they're so tiny except for the diamonds. But even when Steven, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl fuse into
Sunstone?
Obsidian.
Oh,
that was
yeah,
what
Obsidian.
the big fusion. They're still like relatively tiny. They're just a little more than diamond sized, which is interesting. Not a Steven Universe height inconsistency problem.
Oh, no.
More just like an observation.
Yeah. So the action scene. Okay, first of all, from the very start when Steven gets the gems back, like Dude, you have pockets. Use them. Connie has a jacket on with pockets. Like I, this ex- I mean, like, I don't know. It's just it had to happen this way, so this could happen, and also so the gems could like be out. And I guess you could argue that Steven would want to like be holding them, like just in case
Yeah.
you want to fall on them or
Well,
something.
I don't. We look another scale thing. I don't even know if they'd fit in his pocket.
You could. Well, you could pocket two and hold one in each hand. Cause like
Yeah. Well, there's also the chance of them getting cracked. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like that might be a concern.
Yes, Nick, it's safer to hold four like
Okay.
slippery objects in your hands. No one could ever drop them. At least
I don't know.
especially not if you're running in flip-flops.
All right, man. It's just that whenever I have jewelry, and I got a lot of jewelry in my hand, I just robbed the jewelry store on a Tuesday night. I'm like, I'm just gonna put this expensive jewelry in my pockets. That'll be a safe place to put them.
I mean, I guess I didn't see Mojo pocketing the annubial jewels, but listen, I don't know. I guess it's foreshadowing that Steven was kind of dumb on that issue that this were to happen. I'm not I'm poking fun at this. This isn't like any legitimate complaints because I know sometimes people have like trouble discerning when I'm like giving like a criticism that I stand by and I'm like, yeah, this kind of hurt the experience versus just kind of like a poking fun at like characters being a little goofy for the sake of the story.
Oh, that's my whole shtick. You don't have to worry about that.
I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the commenters.
Ooh,
but
yeah. There's evil
but anyway,
commenters trying to give constructive criticism out of what they know.
so the action scene. Steven shield slided like he's from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what it was. It was really cool. I loved the way he circled around with all that.
I don't know if it's intentional. Well, it probably was intentional, but it kind of reminded me of Together Breakfast actually when he's sliding.
Oh yeah,
around.
you're right. Mm-hmm. During what part of the I don't know, some part in the Gem Temple.
Yeah, well, when he's heading down to Garnet's part.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting callback. I don't know if that was intentional, but that whole sequence, and even resolving that with Steven fusing with everyone, I think that was good too.
You wouldn't expect that at all because like. I mean, like, yeah, like that's a good curveball because it's like, okay, well, you know, he could catch the gems, like, he probably maybe could have done that, but like realistically, like if these four objects, like the odds of him being able to catch each and every one of them and float to safety still, like he can fall slower, but he can't fall faster. So like I felt like that was a really cool resolution. It was cool to see Smoky Quartz again. It was cool to see, like, Smokey throw Steven towards Pearl's gem. like, and then Rainbow Quartz 2.0. Oh, boy. That was great.
Mary Poppins meets, I don't even know. Was
Doctor
that
Who?
Yeah,
Doctor
I
Who,
mean,
maybe?
yeah, pretty much Doctor Who. Was that a male voice actor? Like, I don't know. I didn't, that came and went so fast. I keep seeing came and went. It's the word of the day or phrase of the day. But anyway, yeah, that happened so quickly I didn't really discern. But that was a cool design. I dig Jacket Pearl, as I said before.
Mm-hmm. And then they catch Garnet and then you're like, oh, we're not gonna get a Steven Garnet fusion. And
no. That's when part 3 ends.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. They're so they land.
No, part 2. That's the end of part 2, not
right.
3. I was thinking midway through, man, they covered a lot, and I had the same feeling during Reunited, and then I realized part of the reason is because it was kind of rushed.
Well, it's weird because at this point, like, really, what has happened in the episode? Like, we had an episode dedicated to changing Blue and Yellow's minds, and then like just about to escape. Like that's like a straightforward episode. That's any other show would kind of have an episode like that where you gotta, it's practical. But then the second episode is, it's a lot of things. And we're saying really it is one big special. Like I'm not trying to evaluate it as an episode. I'm just trying to break it down because it's easier to talk about like that.
Yeah, no, since we just watched it, it aired in 4 different segments when we saw it on TV. Like it was first part, second part, all of them were split up by commercials. So that's why we're calling them Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. They don't have individual titles. This isn't like the Wanted event they did.
The first one's called Battle, the second one's called Of, and the third one's called Heart, and the fourth one's called Mine.
I like
There's no and. No, but like it's kind of weird because this episode has the big the reveals with Lapis Peridot. It's got Yellow and Blue trying to talk to the Diamonds, to White Diamond, and then it like a lot of it is just kind of this. Let's just kind of show Steven fusing with the other characters, which again, it's like it's really cool, but it's like, man, you know, you got like a lot going on in this. Like, if you had to cut something, like just on a purely like maybe to make more room for actual resolution, and especially if you know you're getting another season, maybe you'd want to save one or two of those fusions for next time.
My
maybe
God, they didn't know. I swear they most likely didn't know.
I mean, you're not wrong. I'm just saying hypothetically.
Yeah.
Like if they knew, and you're right, a lot of shows do this sort of thing where they make a season finale with the intention of it. If they don't get renewed, it is the series finale, and it wraps up just enough that you feel content if the show gets canceled. But
Hi,
then also,
Futurama.
yeah.
How are you doing? You did this like 4 times.
But yeah, but like I don't know. I this part was like it was like fan servicey, and I don't say that in a bad way because I loved seeing the new fusions. But in terms of like if we're talking like strictly story, like you could have basically cut a good chunk of this episode out and still have it be intact. But I think like having the gems not reform on their own and having Steven having to help them out definitely furthers like that Steven is the leader and he's the hero and he's the one doing all this. It's not him relying on the gems anymore. The gems now rely on him to save them time and time again.
That also segues into the argument in part 4 between White Diamond and Steven, which White's whole thesis is that Rose surrounds herself by inferior gems to make herself feel better, which I think we'll actually, you know what? We'll get to that. But as for the end of the second part, no, wait. I don't...
Well, what did you think of Sunstone?
Sunstone? Okay, let's talk about Sunstone. So this design was basically just Incineroar meets the sun. Like if you have like a cartoon image of the sun, but you put sunglasses on them, and then you gave it the personality of Sonic the Hedgehog from the Sonic Says PSAs, where he's always telling you to like do your homework and brush your teeth or what have you. And new, pretty great character right there, just in concept.
So this is how like the second half of this thing starts off with like why did they looked at the camera and like said don't do this at home, kids. Like they did that.
I loved it. Like it totally breaks tone and what they were going for, but you know, it was funny. It gets out of the way. It also goes back to sardonyx. So yeah.
Yes. Well, I think there is kind of a marked difference in Sardonyx putting on a show in an episode and breaking the fourth wall of her own show. And, like, this character just... But I would say that if you were to defend this... And, I mean, like, I don't think you have to. I think it's a fun gag anyway. You could argue that since Garnet can already see, like, the future and has, like, extra perception, maybe with protagonist powers, they can just do anything. They know they're a cartoon now.
I mean, Steven basically can do anything. Even this episode shows that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was an interesting way to start the third segment. But that fusion wasn't even on screen for too long. No. I would say part 3 moves along the quickest of all the parts because it is probably the most heavy on action.
Yes.
Least amount of reveals, though there was still a lot of like designs. We got to talk about Obsidian.
Yes. So Obsidian was the most substantial of the new fusions, I think, in terms of like what they did, progressing the story wise, and probably was on screen the most of all of them.
Yeah, and my favorite. I just love the design so much. I love how people were correct, and it was basically what the gem house was modeled after.
Right.
The whole temple, and I just loved the lava flowing through them that they could control, and they just make a huge sword out of their mouth. Like, yep. I'm not exactly sure what part of the gem's power this comes from, but I mean, it was cool, so I'll take it. Like, whoever designed this was having a field day, so yeah, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminded me, as a lot of the giant designs do, of like Zelda goddesses. I don't really
Yes.
know why.
Oh man, they
Um,
love their Zelda stuff.
yeah, but yeah, no, Obsidian definitely lived up to the hype. I would definitely say, like, because it's like, it's one thing, like, they could have just made, like, here's a big gem, like it's kind of like Opal again or whatever. But no, like the lava that it spews, and how it's just, it doesn't talk. It's just like one big fighting machine with a ton of arms. Oh, they're so cool. uh, and it's the one Steven Fusen thus far that is not at least like a twinge comedic.
Right. Yeah, no, that is interesting. I'm not
That
saying that the designers or the writers are like, oh, whenever Steven fuses, it has to be comedic. It's just like that is kind of interesting that I guess his silliness comes out of his fusions.
Yeah, it's inherent in his personality. I mean, you I guess the less goofy or the least goofy would have been Savani. Not like
Right.
Stevani isn't jokey, but they are still like, Steven is still in there, so
I would
they
say
can
with
be
the
immature.
gems, you can make it a whole lot more interesting. You can do so much more with the designs rather than just 2.5 humans.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
I don't actually. But
Oh.
um yeah, no. So one thing, and like Obsidian climbing and roaring inside of like the white ship's eye, like super cool. The one thing that really got on my nerves during this fight is when Obsidian was like doing all this stuff, they were also holding Connie.
Okay, yeah. So all these weapons come up and is fused into this giant sword, and I didn't even keep track of which one Connie was in. I mean, they show this whole mess of hands when it's transforming, but it's not really clear where
Yeah.
Connie is during all of this.
And that is kind of a part of the just kind of like weird environment thing. Like Connie, basically Connie had to be there because Connie has to show up inside of White's head. Um, but like I would have preferred if, like, I don't know, Peridot gave her a lift or something instead of that, because her being held, it just kind of came off as a little awkward, because like one of like, it would have been cool to see Obsidian at like full strength waving all of the arms around doing all sorts of things, and instead one arm just kind of has to be dedicated to holding Connie while they're also doing these ridiculous jumps and things. It's a little like, I don't know, immersion breaking, I guess.
I mean, it was
Um,
cool, but you could have like put Connie on on the edge of a building a little sooner. I know they did
yeah.
end up doing that, but it was a little weird at at the moment.
hmm Um, and I mean, during this fight, like Lapis, Bismuth, and Peridot all kind of get their moments, but I would say that they're not, they don't do anything that was particularly like really cool. I think like the reunited fight scene, I kind of prefer that, to be honest with you. Um,
Really, a lot of
yeah,
people take issue with that one because they say all the characters are just firing one at a time, like RPG style.
yeah, but there's so many. I mean, like, I'm not saying like that one moment where they're doing that. Like, there's Lapis throws down the barn. There's oh gosh, like each one of them kind of has like a little thing that they do. Like
Like a
Lion
hero
and,
moment.
yeah, Lion and Connie do something, and you know, like that's definitely a more focus on the ensemble. Where this one was, let's show off what Obsidian can do, and then also like Peridot, Lapis, and Bismuth are kind of there.
Let's
Like,
like nearly kill Peridot for a second time.
yeah,
They really
and
do. They really love just shoving her around.
and Connie's given this cool sword, and she does use it to help like steady herself.
Most of the third part we're forgetting was just
Mm.
this big conversation, big elongated conversation with a little bit of action and a whole lot of drama between Steven and White Diamond.
Right, that is still a part of the third part.
Now,
Um,
what I think was interesting about this whole debate is that Steven is usually like, he's like, let's talk it out. But White Diamond just kind of cuts him off for most of the time. She doesn't really give Steven a big chance to speak and hear him,
mhm.
let her hear him out.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, that's Steven solves all his problems by talking, except for Jasper. um, but yeah, and I will say that, like, I feel like a little bit of the impact of the gems being controlled by White Diamond was kind of taken away, because we knew, I mean, if she could do that to the diamonds, obviously she's gonna do that to our gems.
Right.
Like, I mean, it was still, don't get me wrong, it was still like, oh man, like this is really happening, but it wasn't like a shock or a surprise. Like when yellow and blue got like brainwashed or mind controlled or whatever, puppeted, I guess is the correct term. Um, that was like, oh man. But now when it's happening again, it's just kind of like, it's more of like, oh man, Steven is now alone in this. Okay, so yeah, so then Connie comes in and there's like a very brief fight scene with the characters who have been brainwashed, which I kind of, I guess they also kept it brief because this was one of like the first big fight scenes with gems in the entire show, where it's Lapis and all the mirror matched gems made out of water. So we've already kind of like had characters fighting.
I was happy that there was a little bit of heroes fighting heroes, at least to give some levity to what was just a very, very elongated debate between these two characters.
Right. But it wasn't, it was a very brief, like it was like Connie and Pearl like exchange spear and sword twice, and then like Steven gets picked up and Connie gets picked up, and like that's the fight.
Right. I mean, I'll take that over nothing.
Yeah. I mean, there's it's cool for a second. Pearl does a spin.
It's very cool. We'll talk about some more cool animation stuff in part 4.
Yeah, but just another thing on the brainwashed gems is that the freaky smiles.
I love them. I love creepy stuff. Oh man.
Yeah.
I love whenever this show goes to dark places like that. Even more. I want to talk about part 4 so much.
Okay. We can. Well, I think I would guess that a part of the intention or where they're drawing from with a lot of this is like maybe this is just me speculating or just what I'm taking from it, but it kind of felt a little bit like an old-timey sitcom. I know I take a lot of things to sitcoms, but like in that it's black and white, everyone's smiling, there's no such thing as like anxiety or like issues that people are harboring behind their smile. It's just kind of like and White Diamond kind of sounds like an old-timey like the Blue Fairy from Pinocchio. Yeah, Blue Fairy, Blue Wizard, Blue something or other from Pinocchio. Like, did you get that vibe at all? Like, it kind of felt like almost like it's drawing a parallel with like, 5 or 6 or 7 decades ago in the real world, where we ignored a lot of issues in society that we're not now.
I mean, I didn't really think of that at all, but looking back at it, I see a lot of visual thematic connection. Like a lot of White's color palette is these big luminescent white and grays, and a lot of the effects on just her whole headspace was these static looking textures, which I guess looks like old television shows, just like an old timey kind of look of order. And I do want to bring up that if you want to say that this was foreshadowed, you can go to whatever that episode was. Oh, Chillatid, in one of the dreams that Steven goes into, which is just basically a parody sitcom version, but that was more like Happy Days. So.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. Actually, like, not just in White, but in the background, because like a lot of Homeworld has this kind of like background where it's kind of like one color but speckled. You see a lot of this in the trial in the very beginning.
I didn't actually notice this. This was also in Legs from Here to Homeworld, but I didn't notice it until I watched the episode on a TV, which is interesting. I guess some of the visual fidelity you don't really see if you watch it on a phone.
Oh, you watched this on a never mind.
I watch a lot of television on my phone.
Gosh, Nick, you're so young. You're so,
I am
so naive
young.
in this world.
Yeah.
No, continue.
But anywho, actually, I don't know what I'm going to say. You lead.
Oh, okay. Well, so I guess moving a little bit along, almost to part 4. But yes, White has this kind of like this happens, and this literally happened in a series of unfortunate events, which is a show I just slammed on the recast a few weeks ago. This is one of the things I didn't like about it, is because the villain tries to convince the heroes that they've been doing bad things, but that show kind of takes the side that like maybe they have been doing bad things, even though they're like orphans that have like only done slightly, kind of, sort of, a little bad things just to survive an evil, murderous madman. But hey, whatever. Anyway, what I love about this is that, like, Steven Universe is a show that's built on these big, insane twists, right? Like, these big reveals, these big twists, this big craziness, and the way this is set up, like, I really didn't think they were going to go with it, like, with, like, I don't know, that Steven's always been pink or whatever, but, like, because of how crazy Steven Universe can get, they build it up just enough that you're just kind of like, wait, no. They're probably, could they do that? Like, it's the type of thing the show would do, even though I think in this instance it wouldn't actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have. And it's like, that's what's so crazy.
No, it's perfect build up, because you're like, they've given you enough context with the whole direction of the show to feel like, maybe they could do this, but no, there's still some doubt there.
Especially because Steven's defense, like White's like, how do you know all this stuff about Pink? And Steven's like, oh, it's my emotion powers. And it's like, if anyone would know about, like, what gems have what powers or whatever, you feel like it would be White. Like,
right. It seems like she would be in order of all this.
Right. And you see, like, a little montage from the previous few episodes where Steven had his little pink dream. And it also shows Steven doing, like, the wink and the finger guns.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how that showed him being, like, pink. Also,
what is that implying? Are guys not allowed to do that?
I mean, I guess so. That's, like, something Steven has always kind of done. Just a very quick feminine trait or action.
Yeah. Huh. But yeah, no, that was very well done, and especially because at this point in the episode, once they get inside of White's head, we've gone, like, full anime.
Oh boy! I know people were predicting what we see in part 4 for a while ago, but I was always like, that sounds like something straight out of, like, a finale anime.
It's part 3, actually, at the very end of part 3.
Yes.
So White, like, and this was so well done because it's like, it's body horror. Like Steven Universe has done good body horror before, where it's like, it's still, like, G-rated enough, like with the all the arms and the hands and the legs from the shards, the gem shards.
Yeah, and we even saw this in the very beginning of I'm getting all these this whole arc mixed up. The one where he's spinning out all of the hair from Rose Quartz at the beginning of Together Alone.
So yeah, they execute it in such a way that it's like, I mean, technically speaking, it's literally just the gem pops out of Steven. Like, if we were to actually see it, it would probably look like exactly nothing, because he doesn't even have a belly button afterwards.
Yeah, no, that's always weird. There's this... I pointed this out as a joke at the end of one of my videos, but do you know the She-Ra reboot?
Yes, I've heard of it. I've seen it.
There's this one character, Bo, who his armor on his torso kind of doesn't obstruct the area where his navel is, but you don't see a mark of a belly button. He doesn't have one. It's like just in the design, and I'm like, why doesn't he have a belly button? And Steven should have a belly button. I mean, I guess it's excused here, so I don't know.
Well, I feel like he probably didn't have an umbilical cord, but I don't really want to get too into that.
Let's not think about that whatsoever.
But at any rate, like, the way they do it, kind of like in shadow, and like it looks like it hurts, but of course we don't actually. It's left to the imagination, is what I'm trying to get to say with all of this, and that's often the best kind of horror, is that if you leave just enough, like, information, and especially because we cut to a commercial, so I mean, at that point there could have been, like, a huge, like, gaping wound in Steven's stomach for all we knew, like, in that commercial break. My absolute favorite part of the episode is when we get back from that break.
And wow, just that whole transition where the screen is split and we see the two perspectives, Steven's whole personality split.
Now look, I've been very critical of the Steven perspective, but I will say, this is if it was all for this, I don't want to say it's been worth it the whole time, but, like, this was a very clever use of that mechanism, that we've been seeing the show through Steven's eyes, metaphorically, not literally, but metaphorically, and now we're literally seeing it, and because half of him is missing, his gem half, we only see half the screen, and then when the gem half appears, we see the other half. That is so cool.
Oh man, I want to talk about, so I keep thinking about this with a lot of media. There was this one episode of Wander Over Yonder. This seems like a really out there comparison, but I don't know if you've seen the show very much.
Mm-mm.
Okay, there's this one episode called The Breakfast, and the whole episode is the screen split between the two characters, Wander and Lord Hader, as every single action they do parallels that. And it's such an ingenious episode. It won an Annie. But
Wow.
yeah, that's what I thought of as soon as I saw the screen being split from the two perspectives. The way it was from, like, it was a first person perspective here rather than just like a static camera shot in the Wander episode. So this was a lot more impressive. And skipping ahead just a tiny bit, the animation when Steven
Yes.
fused back with himself was,
Oh my God.
oh man, it was phenomenal. And I had no time to do anything. This is recorded right after the episode premiered, but I think I just saw something pop up on Discord that James Baxter might have animated something in the episode, and if it was anything, it was that. If y'all don't know who
100%.
James Baxter is, go do your homework. But he's a
Just watch Adventure Time.
yeah, watch Adventure. Well, I mean, you should do that anyway. Most of Adventure Time. But he's this really talented Disney animator who did animation. Now just kind of freelances a little bit on the side for. He did a character that was named after him on Adventure Time. There was an episode of Gravity Falls where he did cleanup for the dinosaur in what episode was it? Oh, Land Before Swine.
Oh, that's such a good episode.
And I can't think of anything else.
How many other shows can we reference during this discussion?
Oh,
How
well,
many other great shows can we reference?
I mean, Wander Over Yonder is a good show. I will plug that show as much as I can. Really underrated stuff, and you can't watch it anywhere. But anywho, the animation there.
And you can't see it.
You can't see it. Disney took it off of like everything except for like iTunes. But anywho, the animation there.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm looking at it back right now, and it's Disney. Like, I thought I was watching a Disney movie for like
Oh yeah.
5 seconds.
No,
like
what I realized about it halfway through was it was mimicking the fusion between Ruby and Sapphire in Hotel,
Oh.
the motel, whatever that episode was.
Keystone Motel.
Keystone Motel. I am forgetting episode titles tonight. I'm so sorry. I'm usually slightly on the ball about this, especially if it's SpongeBob.
Okay. But yeah, no, that part was another like favorite part of mine. Also, it's less stated, like it's more obvious here, but also when Steven was fusing with Amethyst, there was also that like animation bump for a few seconds while they were doing their transformation sequence.
Oh yeah.
But like that, like, man, you don't see animation like that anymore. Like, you just don't. Like how fluid it is because we don't get 2D animated movies, so you know, where are you going to see that kind of level of like, let's make everything really, really fluid?
Yeah, and even when they try to get something really hyper detailed, they have to cut corners a little bit. Like Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you've probably seen a ton of clips pop up where they have these beautifully animated action sequences, but they have to be a little choppy just to get everything in on budget.
Wow. Huh.
But you know, that's another great show we can reference. Anywho,
Yeah.
but let's talk about, oh man, that whole sequence where Steven is split apart and he just starts rapidly aging and collapsing in Connie's arms.
He's not rapidly aging. He just looks like he's like,
I mean,
ill.
That's kind of what I got for it, because it assumed to me that his gem was like keeping him from becoming an angsty teen or what have you. I mean, he's supposed to be like 15 or 14. Like, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure it's been a year since Steven's birthday, at least. So I don't know.
Well, we've had like 2 winters, and anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, but either way, Steven just looks like he's not well, and Connie has to carry him over to the other Steven, and it's just like it's a great scene because there's no precedent for this, so we have no idea what's going to happen. Like, is Pink Steven going to be an antagonist? Is it going to turn into Pink Diamond and like Yep, Jake. Lol, it's been Pink Diamond the whole time. Like,
Pink Steven does scream. That's the most noteworthy thing he does. Not saying that's bad, but it was just very shocking.
yeah, yeah, he rees.
Can't wait to see that edit on Twitter.
I'm Pickle Steven. Oh goodness.
Oh, come on. I'm the one who makes the pickle rig jokes around here.
But cool things to note, and I mean, again, if you need any more like video game references in your Steven universe, like the characters that are like brainwashed kind of like slide around, like they don't have walk cycles.
Yeah.
And notably, like they emphasize this, that Pink Steven does not walk on the rubble. It like walks as if there's like an invisible ground on
That was
top of it.
such a weird detail, but it was really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I would assume that it's meant to kind of like draw attention to the fact that it's just other world. It's like the diamond, the gems are like these programs, and it's like how in a game, if you don't program a character to walk in a like to walk with the divot in the floor, it'll just walk in a straight line. You programming a straight plane for the character to walk on.
I
Really
think it's
cool.
yeah. Oh, it's totally cool, and I think that it's also along the lines of how the gems are supposed to be manifestations of light, and since the Pink Steven is just the entire gem part of Steven and nothing else, it doesn't have restrictions of
Right.
being on top of anything.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was another really cool detail.
What does it mean? Is what I'm getting at. What does it all mean? Because like I mean we know that Steven is Steven because he's because Greg was involved. So it's not just like this Pink reformed as Steven. Um but like what is this gem Steven then? Does it mean that on some sort of molecular level, like the actual gem is rewired to be Steven? It's not like half of Rose made Steven. Like, no, this is just literally the gem is Steven and Steven is Steven. And they both form regular Steven. If that is that followable? Does that track?
No, I follow. It's
Okay.
weird.
Yeah.
How about we move on before we get our minds in a twist?
Okay. You don't want to talk about Steven and the Steven?
Hey, we
That's
already had Steven and the Stevens. Wait a
I know.
second, that was foreshadowing.
Weirdest foreshadowing ever. Well, that's also foreshadowing because he learned to stay true to himself by watching himself die. Um,
That's oh yeah, you're right. That is also one of my favorite lines from the whole show.
oh, absolutely. That's the best like ending line of an episode.
Yeah, and a song.
Yeah. White Diamond's little tantrum is interesting.
Yes. Well, one thing I noticed was that she really starts to move after she was being very static and controlling throughout the rest
Right.
of her scenes. She's
Yeah.
like totally taken aback. One thing I thought was a little weird was that Steven's power after he reforms and starts to influence everyone around him get and take back everyone's mind from White Diamond was that everyone gets really rosy pink cheeks.
Yeah. Well, that's a part of Steven's aura. How yellow makes blue makes everyone cry. White can control everyone, and yellow, I don't know. Does yellow do something? Yellow can electrocute people.
Yeah,
But like,
I mean,
no, but it's no,
all
no,
the elements come together.
right. Steven's heart. No, but like seriously, that is definitely an extension of like Blue's aura power. Like it's the same sort of thing. Where
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I guess Steven gives people like embarrassment powers.
Yeah, no,
but it's
that was kind of what I was thinking. Is like, wait, did Steven just save the whole day by embarrassing White Diamond with a snappy one-liner? Like,
Well-
that's a little bit of how I interpreted it.
yeah. Yeah. It's a little well. How do you feel about this resolution?
Well, one thing that kind of bugs me about it is that it does kind of fall criticism to this big thing that people who have been taking Steven Universe down for, which is it doesn't really let villains stay as villains. It always has to reform the bad guy.
Yeah.
which, except with Jasper, who was, I guess at this point, she was just more misunderstood.
Jasper got reformed in more ways than one this episode.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Oh, you really had it. That was just a total meme slap. Meme slapper
that
for
was.
you.
I literally did that.
Very good. Nice use of ham boning.
Yeah, no, I like. I don't hate. Like, I don't hate it. Like, again, like, I don't think that this was like, oh, this is the worst way to end this storyline or whatever. But I do think that, like, it is a weird anticlimax in that, like, it's not like I didn't like what was there. I felt like it needed to be more. Like, it really was one episode of Steven talking to White Diamond. Did it. That's all it took.
All right, it was more like an episode and a quarter, but I don't know. I feel like it was, I feel like it was expanded upon enough that you could see how Steven did, in fact, change her mind.
Yeah. Uh, well, but that's the thing too, is that it also, like, it kind of well, we'll talk about the montage, because I feel like that's kind of like its own. It's like an epilogue, basically.
It's like that one sequence from the end of Adventure Time, except
Oh yeah, literally.
Yeah, except they cover a lot less, because Adventure Time, that Steven Universe wasn't like, hey, let's just do this random episode. Oh, we gotta fit that in here. Whoops.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. And I think you're right in that they were probably pretty convinced that this was going to have to be the series finale. So, it is what it is. But I will say that, like, I feel like, yeah, because, like, and this has been a part of the problem with Steven POV, is just that, like, it has trouble having villain encounters. Like it can't develop the villain unless Steven encounters them. You know what I mean? So it's not like you can get an episode where, like, Steven starts to change White Diamond's mind, and then Steven, goes back to Earth, and then we, like, cut to an episode with White Diamond where we start to see, like, the process of White Diamond maybe doubting herself a little and, like, progress over time. It has to be an encounter with Steven, or else we don't see it. So
the closest we ever get to that is That Will Be All, when we see What's the Use of Feeling Blue,
right,
between Yellow and Blue Diamond, where Steven is just walking around, which is like, that feels like one of the stronger storytelling moments, definitely. But they really, yeah, I totally agree that is one big restraint of the Steven only perspective, and also because of that, we don't really see a ton of, like, the side characters just doing their own thing. Like,
this is a very big criticism I have, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but this whole stinking show, right? How many times did we take an episode out to focus on the humans? How many times was it like, let's do a human problem episode? Let's do the... And in the end, the humans were utterly worthless. They did exactly nothing, save for Connie and Steven. Am I wrong to say that, like, ultimately, in the very end here, it really wasn't a story about Steven, like, the gems and the humans becoming one and doing all... Like, it really was a story about the gems, and the human stuff was pointless filler.
Well, not completely, because it's all about Steven using his experiences on Earth and having a family and seeing all the different kind of people there, and using that to convince White Diamond that people do have flaws. Steven's seen so many different kinds of people that,
but, like,
he can kind of get that. And even like, this isn't just a Steven thing. Connie talks to Yellow and Blue Diamond. She's talking about, yeah, I mean, my mom used to really be hard on me, but then we talked out and everything was cool.
That's so stupid. I'm
no,
sorry.
It wasn't. It was like a... All right, I'm sorry, but, like...
No, go for it. Come at me.
I mean, like, I don't know. That's another criticism. Maybe I'm just backing it up because I'm just sick of people saying, oh, the humans are pointless, and I like a couple of those episodes, so I'm willing to defend it. But yeah, I mean,
no, my argument is just that if they were going to spend all the time with it, I mean, I'm not just salty because my theory was proven wrong, that, like, Steven would fuse with all the humans in Beach City, but just kind of like there were seeds of, well, there was also seeds of war, which I guess that like inevitability ended up not existing. But like it just
I don't
kind
know,
of
man. Restaurant Wars did foreshadow everything here.
maybe the movie is gonna be the war.
Well, I mean, we don't even know. You know, you are talking about this a little bit like this is the end, and they have no way to fix it. Which,
Okay,
like, I know we're coming at this as a really weird angle where it could be the end, but we know it isn't.
but it's the climax of the main storyline of the homeworld and the diamond. Like it is. I mean, unless they're gonna completely slide backwards. I mean, I'm not saying like surely they have other ideas, and surely there are places the story could go. But but this is kind of like the crux of it, and it is ultimately like, well, the humans are like there at the end. It isn't. They don't do anything. I mean, I feel like I'm not saying that we needed like humans to pick up spears and whatever from Rose's arsenal and literally fight like an army of White Diamond's little minion projections or something. That could be one thing they do. But like I feel like I don't know, even if it was more about Steven talking about like the lessons he's learned. I know this sounds hokey, but like if he said something about like, on Earth there's humans that don't talk at all, and like it kind of like cuts to like a shot of Onion. It's like there's humans that do this, and it's like maybe the diamonds could learn something from humans. You know what I mean? Just tying it back in a way that really does feel like Steven's human side of the journey really did matter, because it just doesn't feel like it paid it off. And it's like if you okay, the episodes are in the show regardless of how I feel about them, so at least make them mean something.
Yeah. When you said why not have Steven flashback to all the humans, I was just thinking of the Adventure Time season 6 finale with the comet, where you see all the flashbacks of all the different things that are important in Finn's world. I only like that episode because it's the end of season 6.
Oh, please don't get me started.
I've already been started for a good long while, but anywho,
Shadow triggered me last week by talking about the baseball episode of Steven Universe. I don't need this.
All right.
Um,
I really enjoyed the baseball episode, but that notwithstanding, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna argue about with this on you.
well, but
I don't know.
Okay, but I think this my criticism of the humans not being too involved also kind of dovetails into like the end, where it's like, okay, so Lars's ship touches down, and admittedly that is a hilarious moment. Like you kind of see the setup coming a mile away when there's like, oh, finally we made it to Earth, and then they go on. Roadnet goes on about how like there's no more diamonds, and then they see the diamonds, and they're like, uh-oh, or what did she say? Well, we're cracked,
Which is like, instead of saying, well, we're boned,
or we're screwed, or
we're
something.
screwed, yeah. I was thinking, that reminded me of Bender from Futurama. His classic catchphrase right there.
Yep.
But that was a funny moment. Also another one of those moments of, wow, what a convenient comedic timing. Yeah, exactly.
And like why, like it really, it felt like, oh, okay, we have like 2 minutes to devote to like the humans you care about in the show, like in the pseudo finale. Like I feel like Lars and Sadie could have done that before reunite. Like why did it happen in the order that it happened? Why didn't Lars get back sooner? Is it because they couldn't have the ship, or else it'd be getting to Homeworld too easy? But that doesn't matter because they got to Homeworld easily anyway. Like
Why was Letter to Lars Lars's last appearance on the show? That's basically the big question. Why wasn't this all gotten out of the way before? Yeah.
Yeah. Steven Universe just kind of forgets about things for a while until it doesn't. And that's kind of like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to see Lars again, and I think the reunion was pretty sweet. But it does feel like an example of like, well, I don't know, this has got to go somewhere in the series, and we're maybe possibly at the end, so shove it in there. Do you care about like, are you one of the 6 people in the world that care about Onion? Well, he might have been in that crowd shot. I can't even remember. Like that's kind of like, if you were a fan of the Beach City Humans, man, I'm sorry. This episode did you dirty.
All right, one thing I did notice out of the corner of my eye was,
Ronaldo.
yes, Lars and Ronaldo's interaction where Ronaldo's holding up Lars's cape and he's like just criticizing it. Look, I am not on the Ronaldo defense squad, but I love that moment.
Yeah. No, I Ronaldo in very, very small doses is great. Like he had his jaw dropped when he saw the ship coming out. Like,
oh yeah, no, all of his moments, I I think at least I'll say in this season, because he had some good
Yeah.
bits in the one with Lapis on the Moon,
Yep.
and also the one right before that with the Mayor Dewey montage, Letters to Lars.
Right. Right. Yeah. Let's just say that Rocknaldo just doesn't exist
Yeah,
canonically.
I'm pretty sure someone, I mean, like, did it really add anything to the lore? I don't know. They say that in Steven Universe every character makes more than one appearance, but I don't think Bloodstone has made another appearance. So,
What are you talking about? Bloodstone is the fusion between Steven and Garnet.
that's Sunstone, you idiot. But yeah, I'll just say, closing this humans thing out, really, they didn't add too much to this episode specifically. As an element of the show, I think that they're very interesting conceptually. They were a pace breaker, kind of, sorta, in execution. And at the very end of it, they didn't really add too much to it.
I guess that my thoughts are there's two things. Maybe Lars was the payoff because Lars turning into Space Captain Lars was like the best and like only example of let's take a human and actually throw him into the gem stuff outside of like just being like the victim of an episode or like a gem monster's attacking or something like that. Like
Yeah,
let's
that was them.
actually merge the worlds.
That was them putting their best foot forward with the human stuff. And also, additionally, Lars and Sadie are the first humans that we see in the show, even in the pilot, going so far back as that. But so they've always been an important part of the show, especially more so in season 1, where there was a lot more stories
Right.
and development on them before they got pushed to the side for a season or so.
We got super fun episodes where Steven and Lars switch places.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Ugh. Hey, at least that was like in the middle of like 4 weeks of new episodes where it
That's
didn't
true.
feel it wasn't like, hey, this is what you get this week.
My second thought would just be that it is entirely possible, not I don't know how likely, but maybe that's what the next season is. Maybe they're saving it because now that there are all of these gems running around on Earth potentially or Homeworld or wherever I mean, assumingly Rosa's army would like to chill with Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, and Bismuth. Like, so maybe that's what the next season is. Maybe we're kind of gonna go back to like season 1 where it's a little more like, here's one gem interact like the I don't know, Schmoodenite doesn't know how to eat pizza, and Steven and Kiki have to teach her how.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at this point the show might fall into a bit of a directionless kind of like lull. Like
I'm not saying
we have no
I don't
idea. We don't even know if they're gonna do anything to jazz up the next season, like the time shift that is
right.
constantly being rumored.
I'm not saying I want that. I'm just saying in
Yeah.
terms of maybe the payoff is yet to come. Is
Right.
basically what I was trying to say.
If we're gonna take this as this was what was the finale was going to be, before I really would like to know the time schedule on this, like if this was planned before the show really took off or when this was in pre-production or whatever have you. I'd love to know that. That's what I want to know. I want to know every single behind the scenes detail, but I don't and I won't. So as far as I know, this is what they were planning on the end being, and it's all right. But yeah, do you want to move on?
Um, well, just about the ending montage with the gems.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Set to "Love Like You." Well, actually, there's a song right before that. They squeezed 3 songs into this.
Yep.
There's a very nice transition with what they officially called a ska version of "Let Me Drive My Band Into Your Heart." So finally, we got Skaven Universe, the best music genre combining.
Okay. That reminded me of something I have to mention is that doesn't White Diamond have a line that's like, in what kind of universe does this happen? And I like legitimately expected Steven to respond, Steven Universe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to. That's what I was thinking too.
There's so many puns in this episode, and they didn't do the craziest one.
Well, I mean that's a great Cartoon Network announcer kind of like thing.
Yeah.
Okay. This is one thing that slip past a lot of people, but I loved it. Which is, okay, so at the end of part 3, where Steven's gem is separated from his body, the promo that happened right afterwards was the announcer going, "Is Steven okay?
Yeah, I know. It's so great.
Is Steven dead? Find out."
Is Steven okay?
Is Steven okay?
I can tell you that, like, after that, he's probably not feeling so good, Mr. Stark.
Yeah.
Like, is he okay? Is the weirdest way to put that.
You think he's good? Is he all good in the hood? Did Steven actually die this time?
Yeah, like it cuts. Imagine it cuts back, and you just kind of see like the silhouette of like Steven being held by White Diamond, and it just like unsilhouettes, and Steven just looks over at Connie, and is like, "I'm okay." It's just like, oh. Okay.
I just realized that there are 2 episodes in this season, both reunited and the second part of this, that end with a giant foot just stomping Steven and a bunch of other characters.
Mm-hmm.
It was better done in this episode because it was more of a Monty Python.
We're still jumping around just a little bit.
I'm sorry. We can get back to the end. Let's get back to the ska.
Nope.
Let me draw my
I got
here.
something very important that we didn't mention. You saying Cartoon Network announcer reminded me of, if every pork chop was perfect, we would not have the dogs that are hot.
Classic Steven Universe.
Dude, that right there was the moment when I was like, oh no, are we in the finale? Like, oh no.
Yeah, you're right.
Did no one tell me?
Oh god, we're calling back to episode 1 or 2.
That's a surefire sign of finale right there.
Oh man.
But anyway, going back to the gems.
That reminds me of something you predicted for the Adventure Time finale that didn't happen, and you were really bummed.
Yes.
Just wanted to rub that in your face. Also, plug that video because that was fun.
Yes, it was.
Anywho.
But yeah, honestly, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed the montage. I felt like it really is just like, I mean, how else could they have shown all of these gems being unbubbled and forming, and you'd have to hire all these voice actors. Like, I completely understand why they chose to do it in the way they did it, and I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah, because they popped up in the water, this whole fountain.
Said,
because they didn't have to design as many, you know? It was cool seeing, like, oh, that creature from season 1 was that guy. Like, that was really cool. Good payoff.
There's some Adventure Timey looking gems. Like, I feel like they're like, well, we're probably not going to see these gems again, so let's just make them look weird.
Like I said, that was probably the same mentality between a lot of the 80s style redesigns.
Yeah, like one of them looks like a pufferfish. One of them,
right? There was the pufferfish guy from the whatever the party episode with the
the only time when the gems and humans interacted in 4 seasons.
Yeah, I really hope if we do get another season, there's more like casual interaction, but also like stakes. What a list of things I want from Steven Universe: being casual, high stakes in one episode. Man, this show just kind of, its highs are a little too high sometimes, especially right now where we don't know anything about what's coming up next. There hasn't been a single peep besides that teaser trailer for the movie.
Maybe it's gonna be like Saruto, Steven Universe, Next Generations.
Yeah, I'm thinking that they might actually. Well, I'm thinking that this might be like rebranded. Like this might be some kind of sub-series, not like just another. Like they'll give this season a subtitle. They got to do a new intro. Like, man, that thing was outdated like last season.
They could use animation from this episode because they calling back to the intro sequence of your show is also a pretty good sign that this might be the finale.
Right.
But yeah, you could straight up use it. But yeah, it's great. Also, we got to see little Steven again.
Oh yeah, we did.
Very briefly.
We did.
There's not enough of little Steven in this show.
True dat.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's just I'm watching it on mute while I'm talking to you, and it's I don't know. It's just kind of surreal to see all the characters. I mean, I'm gonna say it
got me a little choked up. The part where Steven reformed too. And this whole segment, I was like, "Oh God, this might be the end." I know it really isn't the end, but man, this might be the end. It got me there a bit.
Yeah, there is a very big sense that each of these characters went on a journey and became a different person by the end of it.
Oh yeah,
Peridot, Steven, Lapis, Pearl. Well, maybe not Lapis. I mean, maybe not Lapis. Well, Lapis, yes.
Lapis, yes, for sure.
Well, yeah.
Maybe not like really
Well,
recently, but you know what I mean.
I guess I just mean that Lapis didn't have a great like ending payoff to it. I don't know. Lapis's arc is weird, but anyway, like
Bismuth's arc is even weirder, but we're not going to talk about that.
3 episodes. Or 2 episodes. But no, but like definitely Connie, Steven, Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, and Peridot, I would say. And Lars. I'll give Lars and Sadie. I'll give all of them. I'll say that by this episode, it really does feel like all of those characters are very different from who they were at the beginning of the show, and not just like they're just like randomly different for this episode. Like it's like I feel like all of those characters had a very good journey that might have had like a few bumps here or there, but like otherwise is pretty smooth storytelling that like from episode 1 to here, we got to see these characters grow and progress and become better than they were before, and that is really cool. You don't see that a lot in Western animation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're getting into a bit of looking back at the show as a whole and how this fits into the final piece of the puzzle. And I'm just thinking that, yeah, I mean, I can't really think of another show. I've been rewatching Gravity Falls a lot on the Blu-ray with the audio commentary on. And
nice.
Yeah, no, it's a very good set. Highly recommended. But a lot of that show was very planned out and very straightforward. And this show was definitely planned out. There's a ton of foreshadowing everywhere. But the way the plot moves, it zigzags all over the place. And I don't know, maybe I'm just saying that. Part of the reason might be because I watched it when it aired, not from start to finish. I did the same thing with Gravity Falls, but that might have impacted this because it was like this and that and this, and then 6 months, like there's been like an entire year's worth of a hiatus within season 5 itself. So like it's been 20 months, I calculated.
Huh.
Yeah, it's been a while to air like 32 episodes.
It's also very weird that like it is very weird because every character except for Steven got an outfit change this episode or within like the past 3 episodes. I mean, even Connie, she's wearing the jacket more. That's kind of like her thing. But I mean, she's evolved like from the glasses without lenses in them to no glasses to like different hair and like all that. So like she's evolved. But like Steven is the one character who has physically not changed. So I don't know. Your theory, you might be onto something there with. That's what the next series is in some way Steven has changed, either by age or by he's got a kid or I don't know.
One thing people were talking about, I was talking with people about, was how all the merchandise right now is outdated. It's all like season 2 designs, like the Funko Pops and such. And now it's going to be even more outdated because we got we got all this stuff. So that might be a reason behind the hiatus. A terrible reason from my point of view, but hey, I'm not in marketing, so what do I know? But yeah, I mean, like, okay, let's finish this up by asking this question: if this was the final episode of Steven Universe, if there was no movie, if there was no seasons 6 or 7 or 8 or how many more there's going to be, would you be satisfied?
Satisfied?
Yes.
In terms of would I be happy with what the show is, or would I want more? Like satisfied that this is the finale, or you know, I'm trying to differentiate.
Yeah, no. Would you be satisfied that this is the finale and there is no more Steven Universe until Steven Universe Go in 2030 something?
Oh, well, I'd never be satisfied with that universe.
That's Steven Universe?
Hey,
you set me up.
No, satisfied would be a word for it, because I do think this finale did have some really good highs, and I think it really accomplished a lot of really great moments and a lot of really crazy things, a lot of really like things I would never have seen coming, and in like that, those are good attributes of a finale. Is it like, would I consider it an amazing finale? Honestly, I still feel like certain things, like not including the humans in some way, White Diamond still being a little anticlimactic in how Steven solves the problem, I would consider it like a good finale. I wouldn't consider this a great finale. How about you, Nick?
Um, this is going to be a weird comparison, but I am thinking a lot about Futurama's finales. Like I never watched that show as it aired, so every single time you would get to end the season 3 or season 5 or whatever
The movies.
however it was split up.
Yeah.
There was always this feeling of, oh, there's going to be more, but this was intended to be it. And it always felt like they were like, oh, we'll do a bunch of really good episodes before this, and then we'll write the final episode. I know it's not like a serialized show, but it does have that feeling of, I mean, this could be it. Like, I'm thinking of The Devil's Hands or Idle Playthings, which is a very great episode. But I'm like, this...
It's not a finale.
Yeah, it's, I'm in some ways, it's like, well, what more are you going to do with these characters? Like, it's like you get them to this point, but it's like, you could totally do more with them. And I think that, yeah, I'm satisfied, but there is a lot more that can be done. And I think the way that they built this up was pretty steady. Okay, like, maybe towards the end, it's a little rushed.
Like I liked this more than I liked the Adventure Time finale.
Yes, that I was going to ask you that.
Yes. And also, but well, here's a fun trick. I mean, and again, I just watched this episode, so I'd have to see it again to really know for certain. But I believe I actually preferred Reunited over Change Your Mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just talked about this in one of my videos that went up like a couple weeks ago. I really enjoyed Reunited a lot, and I see some flaws in the pacing, but this totally felt like that, but on a much larger scale with all the what you said before, like like an hour ago when we recorded this, about all the characters coming together and joining together to defeat one big villain. I feel like the way, because they had so much more time, it did feel a little too... I'm not saying that it should have been shorter, because it definitely shouldn't have if they were trying to do as much as they wanted to. Like, this was a pretty good length, all things considered. However, I feel like they definitely should have narrowed the scope a little bit, but they probably couldn't have helped themselves, because this might have been it.
I mean, but to be honest, Nick, like, I know I said this a while ago, but the fusion part of it, it's like, I love seeing the fusions, and I think the fandom would be unsatisfied if the series ended without us seeing Garnet and Steven fused and Pearl and Steven fused.
Yes, definitely, and I think the creators realized that, but
I don't think it had. Honestly, I think we'd live. I think the fans would come up with their own designs and spend years and years doing that, and then, you know, I mean, Steven Universe got renewed, and Steven Universe is getting the movie, and you know, it's even if the show was canceled, it's not unheard of for it to come back with a TV movie or some extra media presence.
Yeah, well,
so you could save that for then.
They didn't know. I mean, like, this is just a really, really odd situation that we're seeing this all through. Like, I feel like this was just kind of a moment of, well, we kind of got sidetracked with all this other story stuff that we forgot to introduce all the fusions. I'm not saying that, like...
I mean, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have gone all of Season 4 and all of Season 5 with, like, out a new fusion.
Haha, I love how much Season 4 added to the overall story. That was a satisfying season. But,
I like when the characters got abducted twice.
Yeah. I liked when there was a satisfying arc with all of the crystal gems involved, instead of boring human side characters that I cared somewhat for.
Remember when we went a series of like 5 or 6 episodes without Garnet speaking or appearing?
Remember when we got some of my least favorite episodes from the whole show? I still remember.
All right, Nick. All right, come on. Let's lower the scope.
All right.
Let's us focus in here, because we're getting too scope. I mean, we could have infinite discussions about the show as a whole.
Oh yes.
To wrap this up, going forward, one thing this episode did to tease something that it didn't resolve or didn't elaborate on in any way, White Diamond's Pearl, because when White Diamond's spell is over, we see Steven and her have a touching reunion, and obviously she was Pink's Pearl at some point, or they had a connection. There's something, and that's, I mean, not that that's like a huge hook. Like, that's not like a villain, raising their arm up out of the water at the end of a movie, like, sequel hook. Like, it's more just kind of like, there's something that could be developed, certainly.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's also like, it's kind of like how I felt with like what the comics have done for Avatar. In that, like, yes, the show ended in a way that, like, yeah, the villain's defeated, but, like, dude, you have reconstruction to do. Like, just because in this case the villain's mind has been changed doesn't mean that Homeworld is now a place of peace. It doesn't mean that White Diamond even, or the other diamonds even know how to rule a society where they're open about their emotions. Just because they want to do that doesn't mean that that's just like, well, everything's great. So that could be the next season. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's Steven bringing some humans to visit Homeworld and having them help teach the gems how to be more emotional. Like, that's maybe where I could see the show going.
Yes.
Or we get space pirate Lars and the Steven Universe crew out in space with all the other aliens that we know exist out there, having fun times and making friends with everyone.
Okay, this is such a weird comparison, but
regular show in space.
No, I was thinking more like more like Sonic X. This one Sonic anime. No, the first 2 seasons are like very straightforward, and the third is like, all right, pack your bags, boys. We're going to space, and we're gonna have space adventures.
Well, didn't the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles also have like 3 or 4 seasons that were weird gimmick?
Oh yeah, they totally did. That these are all shows that were like, oh crap, our show is successful. We got to do more.
Well, you know what, Nick? Maybe all of these episodes of Steven Universe were made years ago. Like, not finished. I'm not saying like fully animated.
I'm pretty sure you're onto something.
Let's say at least like these things were in production and on their way to being animated or already written or whatever, pretty far in. Maybe what comes next is the first thing we see of Steven Universe, like once reacting to how Cartoon Network airs the show, reacting to how the fans like the show to be aired and like the pacing or whatever. Maybe it's now we get miniseries. Maybe it goes like the route that Adventure Time kind of did. And
I like this idea.
If Cartoon Network wants to air bombs, let's specifically make mini arcs. Maybe. This is a complete guess. But now that we know that whatever comes next was certainly made more recently than the rest of this stuff, which, like you said, would have been like the end of season 3 only. There definitely is the possibility that not just the show's going to change, but the way that the people that make the show, the way that they go about making the show could drastically change for the better.
That is... I would say that's all fairly reasonable to expect because of how long this has been stretched out.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm out of things to say.
Yeah. Well, it's been. I'm afraid to check the time.
An hour and a half.
Oh yes, it has. But yeah, I mean, like, Steven Universe has kind of not been in production. They haven't been making episodes for, well, we're going to put it as like maybe a year and a half with the movie, all things considered. But I'm just going to say that I'm very excited to see what comes next. Whenever that may be, because I have no clue if they're going to do episodes leading up to the movie. If the movie is going to launch new episodes, I'd say that it would be preferable that the movie launches new episodes.
Nick.
Yes.
Wait a minute. If they were to do a drastic change, maybe, could you imagine a show that doesn't literally take place with Steven's perspective? Like give us like just like 5 episodes before the movie, and it's just like, here's an episode about Peridot and her trouble with something, and here's an episode where we see what's going on Homeworld with the diamonds trying to adapt to humanity. Like, how cool would that be as like a bridge between seasons?
All right, man, you're just teasing me at this point. These are all excellent ideas, and I'm gonna see probably half of them actually end up in the show. I mean,
none of them will. Yeah. I'm never right when it comes to predicting Steven Universe. I wish.
I mean, like, you're onto something. Like, I would say that there's definitely going to be changes. Change is inevitable with how far the show has come so far, and the story's basically complete. So to expect something like people are already on to this whole time shift thing. People are interrogating the voice actors about this, so something's
Oh,
up.
come on. Don't harass the people that make the show, please.
We're too far into this now, and it's not like a good
Nick.
it's not like a good thing, but yeah, it's happening.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm tired. This episode drained me emotionally, and talking to you for so long is doing the same thing.
Oh, my goodness, Nick. All right. Well, then say goodbye.
All right. Well,
If,
this episode was good. Could have been better, just a tiny bit. I am satisfied. I don't know if I can go 9, 11 months with no Steven Universe. They said this episode's coming out in fall, but fall ends on December 22nd. So
also keep in mind that, it's not like TV movies have ever been pushed back statically.
oh yeah, and it's not like Cartoon Network said there would be 3 arcs in 2018. Yet the last arc ended today in 2019.
Whoops.
Yeah. So well we can just we'll plan for our maybe we can expect another kind of discussion, maybe with some more people when that movie comes out.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, yeah. I'm going to probably do a season 5 review of Steven Universe. This idea has changed so much over the past nearly 2 years that the season's been going on for. Like, I've had so many ideas of how I want to approach this. But yeah, I guess the time's pretty much come. So I'm going to get to that in like 5 months. So look forward to that.
Good luck, man.
I'm backloaded with tons of stuff I need to do. So see y'all then. But until then, thank you guys so much for listening to us babble and babble and babble and me repeat phrases and try to sound smart for as long as you've edited this down to. So thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me on, and thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Nick, for being here, and thanks, guys, for listening. Pie Guy Rules, out.